My daughter texted me, "Sorry, Mom, meeting's canceled." But when I arrived early at my own house, I found a stranger sitting in my living room with my daughter, discussing how to take control of my life. Last Tuesday, I stood in my kitchen listening to my own daughter tell a geriatric care manager that I was mentally declining and shouldn't be trusted with my own money. I'm Cynthia Rhodes, 66 years old. Raised my daughter Brianna alone after my husband Harold died of a stroke 5 years ago. Worked 38 years as a cafeteria manager for Chicago Public Schools so she could have a better life than I did. Gave her everything. My time, my money, my trust. I thought I was building a legacy for my child. I was actually feeding her greed. That day, Brianna texted, "Sorry, Mom, meeting's canceled. Dr. Chen can't make it." But something felt wrong about that text. Brianna never canceled appointments. Never postponed anything, so I came home early from my church volunteer shift. Found a strange car in my driveway. Heard voices in my living room. My daughter's voice, and a woman I didn't recognize. I stood in my kitchen, phone recording in my pocket, and listened to my daughter explain why her own mother needed a conservatorship. "She's forgetting things more often," Brianna said. "Last week, she couldn't remember if she'd paid her electric bill. She's become a fall risk. Just yesterday she tripped on her own front steps. All lies. Every single word. I pay my bills on time. I haven't fallen in 3 years. My mind is sharp as it's ever been." But this stranger, this Dr. Patricia Chen from Senior Care Solutions, was writing it all down, taking notes about my supposed incompetence, building a case against me based on my daughter's lies. "Mrs. Morrison is concerned about her mother's ability to manage her finances," Dr. Chen said. "Given the value of the estate, approximately $400,000, it would be prudent to establish legal guardianship before Mrs. Rhodes makes any decisions that could jeopardize her security." That's when I understood. This wasn't about my safety. This was about my money. My house. Everything Harold and I had built in 48 years of marriage. Everything we'd saved from our cafeteria and bus driver paychecks. My daughter wanted to take it all while I was still alive. But here's what Brianna didn't know. 3 weeks ago, I'd removed her from my house deed. Closed the bank accounts she had access to. Moved every penny to a new bank she knew nothing about. She thought she was one signature away from controlling my life. She was about to discover she controlled nothing. But before I tell you what happened when I walked into that living room, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. And don't forget to subscribe, because what happens next will show you exactly how to protect yourself when your own family tries to steal your independence. This is what happens when a widow stops being convenient prey and starts fighting back. Let me take you back to where this really started. July 2019. The day my husband Harold died and my daughter started seeing me as a bank account instead of her mother. My name is Cynthia Rhodes, born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Met Harold Rhodes when I was 17 years old. He was 19, working part-time at a grocery store while finishing high school. Sweetest boy I'd ever met. We married in 1971. I was 18. He was 20. People said we were too young, said it wouldn't last. We proved them wrong for 48 years. I started working for Chicago Public Schools in 1974. Cafeteria worker at Wendell Phillips Academy Elementary. 20 years old, newly married, needed the steady paycheck and the benefits. Harold was driving for the CTA by then, bus driver, Route 3, 1 down 31st Street, good union job, steady hours, decent pension. We saved everything we could. Bought our house in Chatham in 1978, 3-bedroom brick bungalow with a small yard, $42,000 with an FHA loan. Harold painted every room himself. I planted flowers by the front steps. Roses. Pink ones. They still bloom every spring. Brianna was born in 1984. I was 30. Harold was 32. We'd been trying for 6 years. Doctors said it might not happen. Then one morning I woke up nauseous and knew. Our miracle baby. Our only child. We gave her everything we had. I worked my way up at the school. Cafeteria worker to assistant manager to head cafeteria manager. 38 years I spent making sure children had hot meals. Making sure the free lunch kids got the same portions as everyone else. Making sure nobody went hungry on my watch. Harold drove his bus route for 2 years. Rain, snow, 100-degree summers. Never missed a shift. Never complained. He loved those passengers. Knew them by name. Helped old ladies with their groceries. Made sure the school kids got home safe. We retired the same year, 2009. I was 58. He was 58. The house was paid off. We had savings. His CTA pension. My CPS pension. Social Security coming. We'd made it. Working class kids from the South Side who'd built something real, something lasting, something to pass on to Brianna. She went to University of Illinois. Business degree. We were so proud. First person in either of our families to graduate college. She became a financial advisor. Good job. Nice office. Met her husband Kent at work. They got married in 2009. Same year Harold and I retired. Had 2 beautiful babies, Maya and Jordan. Our grandchildren. Our legacy. Harold loved those kids. Would pick them up from school on Tuesdays. Take them for ice cream. Teach Jordan how to throw a baseball. Braid Maya's hair even though his big hands struggled with the tiny rubber bands. Those Tuesday afternoons were everything to him. Then July 15th, 2019, Harold had a massive stroke while watching the evening news. Went from laughing at something on TV to collapsed on the floor in 30 seconds. I called 911. Rode in the ambulance holding his hand. Watched the paramedics work on him. Prayed harder than I'd ever prayed. He died in the emergency room at 8:47 p.m., 68 years old. 48 years of marriage, gone in less than an hour. The love of my life, my partner, my best friend, the man who'd protected me from everything. Suddenly I was alone. Brianna was devastated, cried at the funeral, held my hand, promised she'd take care of me the way Daddy would have wanted. I believed her. She was my daughter, my only child. Why wouldn't I believe her? For the first year after Harold died, Brianna was the daughter I'd always known. Came over twice a week, helped me sort through Harold's clothes, sat with me while I cried. Brought the grandkids every Sunday after church. Maya would show me her schoolwork. Jordan would tell me about basketball practice. We'd eat dinner together at the table where Harold used to sit. His chair stayed empty, but the house felt less lonely with family filling the other seats. Brianna handled the paperwork after Harold's death. Insurance claims, pension survivor benefits, Social Security. I was grateful. I was drowning in grief and she threw me a lifeline. At least that's what I thought she was doing. Harold's life insurance paid out $80,000. Combined with the $38,000 we'd already saved, I had $118,000 in the bank. More money than I'd ever seen at once. Plus I had my CPS pension of $1,850 a month, Harold's CTA survivor pension of $1,200, Social Security of $1,680. Almost $5,000 a month coming in. The house was paid off. I had everything I needed. But Brianna started talking about planning, estate planning, financial planning, planning for the future, always planning. "Mom, you need to think about what happens to all this when you're gone," she'd say. We'd be sitting at my kitchen table, coffee getting cold between us. Her eyes on my house like she was measuring it. The house alone is worth close to $300,000 now. You bought it for $42,000 in 1978. That's incredible equity. Equity, that's the word she used. Not home, not the place where she grew up, Not the house where her daddy painted every wall and her mama planted roses. Equity. I'm only 61, baby, I'd tell her. This was 2020. Year after Harold died. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I know, Mom. But Dad died suddenly. No warning. What if something happens to you? We need to make sure everything's protected. Make sure Maya and Jordan's future is secure. She made it sound like love. Like protecting her children's inheritance was the same as protecting me. I didn't see the difference then. I do now. Her husband, Kent, started coming to these conversations, sitting at my table, drinking my coffee, talking about tax implications and estate management like he had any right to discuss my business. Mrs. Rhodes, Brianna and I have been thinking, Kent said one Sunday in October 2020, you should really consider adding Brianna to your accounts, just as a safety measure. If something happened to you, if you had a stroke like Harold, someone needs to be able to access your money to pay your bills. It made sense when he said it. I remembered those first weeks after Harold died, the chaos of trying to access his accounts, the paperwork, the waiting. I didn't want Brianna to go through that if something happened to me. Just for emergencies, Brianna added. I wouldn't touch anything. It's your money, Mom. I just want to make sure I can help you if you need it. So in January 2021, I added Brianna's name to my bank accounts. Joint ownership. She could see every deposit, every withdrawal, every penny of the $118,000 Harold and I had saved over 48 years of marriage. Then came the house. That was harder for me. The house was different. The house was where Harold and I had built our life, where we'd raised Brianna, where every room held memories. His tools still in the garage, my roses still blooming by the steps. His coffee cup still in the cabinet because I couldn't bear to pack it away. Mom, we need to talk about the deed, Brianna said in March 2021. We were sitting in my living room, the same living room where 2 years later she'd bring a stranger to discuss taking my independence. If something happens to you, the house goes into probate. That takes months. Costs thousands. It's a mess. What do you want me to do? I asked. Add me to the deed. Joint tenancy with right of survivorship. That means if something happens to you, the house automatically becomes mine. No probate, no legal fees, no complications. Automatically yours, I repeated. Well, yes. But Mom, you'd still live here. It's still your house. This is just paperwork, just planning ahead. Dad would have wanted you protected. She used Harold's name like a weapon, knew I'd do anything if she framed it as honoring his memory, and it worked. In March 2021, I signed a new deed, added Brianna Rhodes Morrison to the title of my house, joint tenancy, right of survivorship. I didn't know what I'd done, didn't understand that I'd just given my daughter legal ownership of my home while I was still living in it. Didn't realize that if she wanted to, she could force a sale, could make me homeless, could take everything. The Tuesday dinners started that spring. Brianna suggested it. Mom, you shouldn't be cooking for yourself all the time. Why don't I come over every Tuesday? We can have dinner together, like we used to do with Dad. It sounded sweet, sounded like a daughter wanting to spend time with her widowed mother, and at first, it was. We'd cook together, talk about the grandkids, remember Harold, laugh about old times. But slowly, the questions started. Casual at first, then more specific, more insistent, more frequent. Mom, how much are your property taxes now? What's your electric bill running these days? Are you keeping track of your spending? Do you have a budget? Always questions, always about money, always making me feel like I couldn't manage my own life, like I needed supervision, like I needed her. Kent came to some of those dinners. He'd walk through my house like he was inspecting it, touch the walls, look at the fixtures, comment on repairs that needed doing. This roof is getting old, Mrs. Rhodes. Probably need to replace it in a few years. That's $15,000 easy. The furnace sounds like it's struggling. How old is it? Have you thought about updating the kitchen? These cabinets are original from 1978. He was calculating, figuring out how much the house needed, how much it would cost to maintain, whether it was worth keeping or better to sell. I felt it, but I didn't name it. Didn't want to believe my own daughter would see my home as a burden instead of a blessing. The pressure grew stronger through 2021 and into 2022. Brianna brought brochures for senior living communities, left them on my kitchen table like forgotten magazines. "Mom, look at this place. It's beautiful. Independent living for active seniors. You'd have your own apartment, but there's a community center, activities, other people your age. You wouldn't be so lonely." I wasn't lonely. I had my church, my neighbors, my garden, Harold's memory, in every room. I didn't want a sterile apartment with other old people waiting to die. I wanted my home. But Brianna wouldn't stop. Every visit brought new suggestions, new pressure, new reasons why I should give up my independence and let her make my decisions. I just didn't know yet that she was planning to take those decisions by force. By 2022, 3 years after Harold died, the Tuesday dinners had become interrogations. Brianna would sit across from me at the table where her father used to sit and ask questions that felt like accusations. "Mom, I checked the joint account. You withdrew $500 last week. What was that for?" I'd look up from my plate, startled. The account was joint, but it was still my money. Money Harold and I had saved. I bought Maya and Jordan new winter coats. And I gave $200 to the church building fund. "You need to tell me before you make large withdrawals. I'm trying to help you budget." "I don't need help budgeting. I've been managing money since before you were born." Her face would tighten. That look she'd get when she didn't like my answer but couldn't quite argue. "I'm just trying to protect you, Mom. Make sure you're not being taken advantage of." Taken advantage of. Like the church where I'd worshipped for 40 years was scamming me. Like buying coats for my grandchildren was foolish spending. Like I was a child who needed supervision. Kent came more frequently now. He'd walk through my house with his phone out, taking pictures sometimes. I asked him once what he was doing. "Just documenting the condition, for insurance purposes," but we both knew that was a lie. He was appraising, calculating, planning. One Tuesday in May 2022, Kent sat in my living room and said the quiet part out loud. "Mrs. Rhodes, this house is too much for you. 3 bedrooms for 1 person. Stairs to the basement. A yard that needs constant maintenance. You're 64 years old. How much longer can you really handle all this?" I was 64, not 94. I could handle my own house just fine. But he continued like I hadn't bristled. "The market is incredible right now. Houses in Chatham are selling for $300,000, sometimes more. You could sell, move into a nice apartment, have $300,000 in the bank earning interest. Wouldn't that be easier?" "This is my home," I said quietly. "Harold and I bought this house in 1978. We raised Brianna here. I'm not leaving." "But Mom," Brianna joined in, "what Kent's saying makes sense. You'd have so much less to worry about. No more roof repairs or furnace problems. No more shoveling snow or mowing grass. And think about Maya and Jordan's college funds. That money could help them." There it was. My house converted to her children's college tuition. My home turned into their opportunity. Everything Harold and I built over 48 years reduced to a transaction that would benefit everyone except me. "I'm staying in my house," I said firmly. "This conversation is over." But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. The documents started appearing in June 2022. Brianna would bring manila folders to Tuesday dinner, legal papers, power of attorney forms, healthcare directives, always with explanations that sounded reasonable. "Mom, this is just standard estate planning. Everyone your age should have these documents. It just means if you're ever in the hospital and can't make decisions, I can make them for you. It's protection. I'd flip through the pages. Dense legal language I didn't fully understand. Spaces for my signature. Brianna's pen ready in her hand. Let me think about it, I'd say. Let me read through everything first. Her jaw would tighten. There's nothing to think about, Mom. This is basic planning. Dad would have wanted this done. Again with Harold's name. Again trying to make me feel like refusing was dishonoring his memory. But something felt wrong. The pressure felt wrong. The urgency felt wrong. The way she'd show up with papers already filled out, just needing my signature, felt wrong. I started making excuses. Not today. I have a headache. Let me show this to someone at church first. Maybe next week. Brianna's patience was wearing thin. I could see it in her face. The forced smile. The tight voice. The way she'd gather her papers with sharp movements when I refused to sign. She was getting angry that I wouldn't cooperate with my own exploitation. In August 2022, Brianna brought up conservatorship for the first time. We were sitting on my front porch. Evening breeze moving through Harold's roses. She said it casual. Like she was mentioning the weather. Mom, have you heard of conservatorships? It's when someone is appointed to manage your finances if you're not able to do it yourself anymore. I'm able to manage my finances just fine. I know. I'm just saying, if you ever got to a point where you couldn't, it's something to think about. Better to set it up now while you're still competent than wait until there's a crisis. Competent. Like my competence was temporary. Like my decline was inevitable and imminent. I was 64 years old with a mind sharper than most people half my age. I balanced my checkbook to the penny, paid my bills on time, managed my investments. There was nothing incompetent about me. But Brianna had planted the seed. And over the next months, she watered it with constant suggestions that I was slipping, forgetting things, struggling, declining. Mom, you told me that story about Dad last week. You don't remember? I did remember, but she made me doubt myself, made me question my own mind. That's what gaslighting does. Makes you mistrust your own reality. By fall 2022, I knew something was deeply wrong. The daughter who used to hug me and call me her best friend now looked at me like I was a problem to be solved, an obstacle between her and my assets. Kent barely pretended anymore. He'd talk about when we sell the house, not if. He'd discuss my accounts like they were already his to manage. I felt trapped. Brianna's name was on my deed, on my bank accounts. I'd given her legal access to everything Harold and I owned, and now she was using that access to pressure me into giving her more, into signing away my autonomy, into making myself her ward. That's when Gloria Williams, my friend from church, pulled me aside after Sunday service in November 2022. She'd been watching, noticing, seeing what I'd been too ashamed to admit. Cynthia, baby, I need to talk to you about something serious. We sat in the church basement, coffee cooling in paper cups, Gloria's hand on mine. What Brianna's doing to you, that's called financial elder abuse, and you need to protect yourself before it's too late. I started crying. Relief that someone saw it, shame that it was happening, fear that I'd let it go too far. I don't know what to do. Her name is on everything. I thought I was making things easier for her. I thought I was being a good mother. You were being a trusting mother. She's being a greedy daughter. And there's a difference. Gloria squeezed my hand. I know a lawyer, Eleanor Washington. She specializes in elder law, helping seniors protect themselves from family exploitation. You need to call her. I was scared. Calling a lawyer felt like declaring war on my own child. But I was more scared of losing everything, of ending up in some facility while Brianna sold my house and spent my savings, of betraying Harold's memory by letting our daughter destroy what we'd built. So in January 2023, I made the call that would change everything. I met Eleanor Washington in her office on 87th Street, told her the whole story, showed her the documents, the joint deed, the joint bank accounts, the power of attorney papers Brianna kept pressuring me to sign. Eleanor listened, took notes, then looked me in the eye and said, "Mrs. Rhodes, you're in danger, but you still have power, and I can help you take it back." Eleanor Washington's office was small but tidy. Certificates on the wall. Law degree from Howard University. 30 years specializing in elder law. Pictures of her own family. Grandchildren smiling in silver frames. She understood what it meant to be a black woman in Chicago trying to protect what you'd built. "Tell me everything," Eleanor said. "Start from the beginning." So I did. Harold's death in 2019. Brianna's support that first year. Then the slow shift. The estate planning conversations, adding her to the bank accounts in January 2021, adding her to the house deed in March 2021, the Tuesday dinners that became interrogations, the pressure to sign power of attorney, the conservatorship talk, Kent's appraisals of my house, the constant suggestions that I was declining, forgetting, struggling. Eleanor took notes, asked questions. When I finished, she sat back in her chair and studied me. "Mrs. Rhodes, how's your memory actually?" "Sharp. I remember everything. Dates, conversations, numbers. I balance my checkbook to the penny every month." "Do you forget to pay bills?" "Never. Everything's on time. I have a system." "Have you fallen recently?" "Not in 3 years. I'm steady on my feet." "Are you confused about where you are or what day it is?" "No. I know exactly where I am and what's happening to me. That's why I'm here." Eleanor nodded. "Then Brianna's claims about your incompetence are lies. And that's good news for us, because it means you're legally able to protect yourself. You have capacity. You can make your own decisions. And you can undo the decisions you made when you trusted her." "How?" Eleanor pulled out a legal pad, started drawing diagrams, explaining options. "The house deed is joint tenancy with right of survivorship. That means you and Brianna both own the property. But you can file a quit-claim deed. That's a legal document that removes someone from a property title. You'd be removing Brianna's name, making yourself the sole owner again." "Can I do that, even though I added her?" "Absolutely. You're competent. You own the property. You can change the deed anytime you want. She might not like it, but it's legal." Hope flickered. "What about the bank accounts?" "Even easier. You close the joint accounts, open new ones at a different bank in just your name. Transfer all the money. Don't tell her where. The accounts were joint, but the money is yours. You can move it whenever you want. She'll know something's wrong when she checks the account. Let her know. By the time she figures it out, everything will be protected. Mrs. Rhodes, you haven't done anything wrong. You're just taking back what's yours." We spent 2 hours going through everything. Eleanor explained that what Brianna was doing had a name: financial exploitation of the elderly. It's abuse. Legal abuse, but abuse nonetheless. Using manipulation and pressure to gain control of a parent's assets. Isolating them. Making them doubt themselves. Preparing to take guardianship or conservatorship of someone who doesn't need it. If Brianna succeeds in getting conservatorship, Eleanor warned, she'd control everything. Your money, your house, your medical decisions. You'd need her permission to spend your own money. She could force you into assisted living against your will. She could sell your house without your consent. You'd lose all autonomy. The words hit like ice water. That's what my daughter was planning. Not to help me, to control me. To turn me into a legal child so she could manage my assets for her benefit. "What do I do?" I asked. "First, we file the quitclaim deed this week. Get your house back in your name only. Second, you go to a different bank, somewhere Brianna doesn't know about, and open new accounts. Transfer every penny. Third, you don't sign anything she brings you. No power of attorney, no healthcare directives, nothing. And fourth, You document everything, every conversation, every pressure tactic. If she escalates, we'll have evidence. I left Eleanor's office that day with a plan, with hope, with the understanding that loving my daughter didn't mean letting her steal from me, that protecting myself wasn't betraying her. She was betraying me. The next week, Eleanor filed the quitclaim deed. Brianna Rhodes Morrison was removed from the property title of my house. I became sole owner again. The house Harold and I bought in 1978. The house we'd paid off in 2005. The house where we'd raised our daughter and buried our dreams when he died. My house. Mine alone. Then I went to a bank on the other side of town. Pullman Community Bank. Somewhere Brianna would never think to look. I opened a new checking account and a new savings account. Transferred all $118,000 from the joint account at Southside Federal. Every penny. The teller asked if I was sure. I said I'd never been more certain of anything. I kept $100 in the old account so it wouldn't close automatically. Let Brianna see the balance whenever she checked. Let her think everything was still there. Let her keep planning her takeover while I quietly dismantled her access. It took 3 weeks to complete everything. By February 2023, I'd taken back legal control of my life. My house was mine. My money was protected. Brianna had access to nothing. She just didn't know it yet. I continued the Tuesday dinners. Smiled. Nodded. Let her pressure me about power of attorney documents. I'm still thinking about it, I'd say. Let her think she was making progress. Let Kent walk through my house taking pictures. Let them believe I was the confused old widow who'd eventually cave. But I was documenting everything now. I bought a small recording device that looked like a pen, kept it in my pocket during their visits. Recorded their conversations about my supposed incompetence. About their plans for my house. About the assisted living facilities they'd researched. Evidence. Just in case. Gloria called me every few days. "How you holding up, baby?" "I'm okay, stronger than I thought I'd be." "Harold would be proud of you, standing up for yourself like this." Harold. I thought about him every night, lying in our bed alone, looking at his picture on the nightstand, wondering what he'd think about what our daughter had become, knowing he'd tell me to fight, to protect what we'd built, to not let anyone, not even our own child, take advantage of my grief and my trust. In March 2023, Brianna made her move, and I was ready. The text came on Tuesday morning, March 14th, 2023. "Mom, I scheduled that appointment with Dr. Chen from Senior Care Solutions, today at 2 p.m. She'll do a home assessment. Just routine. See you then." I stared at the message. Dr. Chen. Senior Care Solutions. I'd never heard of either. Never agreed to any assessment. This wasn't routine. This was the move I'd been waiting for. I called Eleanor immediately. Brianna just texted. "She's bringing someone to my house this afternoon. A geriatric care manager. Says it's for a home assessment." Eleanor's voice went sharp. "Did you agree to this?" "Never. I don't even know who this person is." "This is it, Mrs. Rhodes. This is her building a case for conservatorship. She's bringing in a professional to document your supposed incompetence. You need to record everything. And call me the second they leave." Should I cancel? Tell Brianna not to come? No. Let her come. Let her show you exactly who she's become. Then you'll know you made the right choice protecting yourself. I spent the morning preparing. Cleaned my house so there'd be no evidence of neglect. Made sure my medications were organized in their weekly container. Gathered my bills, all paid and filed neatly. Put fresh batteries in my recording pen. Then I texted Brianna back. "Okay, see you at 2. At 1:45, I heard a car in the driveway. Early. They were coming early. Probably hoping to catch me unprepared. Hoping to find dishes in the sink or confusion about their arrival. But I was ready, standing in my clean kitchen, recording device in my cardigan pocket, heart pounding but mind clear. I watched through the kitchen window as Brianna got out of her car. A woman I didn't recognize emerged from the passenger side, professional looking, clipboard in hand. Dr. Patricia Chen, I assumed, the stranger who was about to evaluate my competence based on my daughter's lies. I should have gone to the door, should have greeted them in the living room like a hostess, but something stopped me. Some instinct that said, listen first, hear what they say when they think you can't hear. So I stayed in the kitchen, left the living room empty. Let them come in through the front door I'd left unlocked. Let them settle on my couch. Let them start talking. And I listened. Thank you for coming on short notice, Dr. Chen. Brianna's voice carried through the house. I've been really worried about my mother. Tell me about your concerns, Dr. Chen said. Professional, clinical, a stranger diagnosing me without ever meeting me. She's 66, widowed 5 years ago. Since my father died, I've noticed significant decline. Memory issues mostly. She forgets conversations we've had. Asks me the same questions multiple times. Last week she couldn't remember if she'd paid her electric bill. Lies. All lies. I paid my electric bill on the 1st of every month. Had for 45 years. Never missed. Never forgot. What about daily living activities? Dr. Chen asked. Cooking? Cleaning? Personal hygiene? She's struggling. The house is getting cluttered. She's not eating properly. I found expired food in her refrigerator 3 weeks ago. My refrigerator was immaculate. I'd cleaned it 2 days ago. Nothing expired, nothing cluttered, more lies. Has she had any falls? Yes, just last month she tripped on her front steps. She says she's fine, but I'm worried she's becoming a fall risk. At her age, a serious fall could be catastrophic. I hadn't fallen. Not in 3 years. Not on my steps. Not anywhere. The lies were getting bigger. What about her finances? Is she managing those appropriately? This was it. The real question. The whole point of this assessment. That's my biggest concern, Brianna said, and I could hear the false worry in her voice. The performance of a concerned daughter. She has substantial assets. The house is worth about $285,000. She has over $100,000 in savings. Her monthly income is almost $5,000, but she's making questionable decisions. Such as? She withdrew $500 last month without telling me why. She's been giving money to her church, significant amounts. She talks about updating her will, but won't tell me what she's planning. I'm worried someone might be taking advantage of her, or that she'll make decisions that jeopardize her security. Taking advantage. Jeopardizing security. Code words for she won't let me control her money. Given the value of the estate, Brianna continued, I think we need to consider guardianship, or at least get power of attorney established before her condition worsens. I don't want to wait until there's a crisis. Has she been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's? Dr. Chen asked. Not officially. She refuses to see a neurologist. But the signs are there. The forgetfulness, the confusion, the poor judgment. I think if you evaluate her today, you'll see what I'm seeing. My hands shook as I held the recording device. My own daughter, sitting in my living room, telling elaborate lies to a stranger, building a case to take my independence, to control my money, to put me under guardianship like I was incompetent. And she was doing it in my house, on my couch, surrounded by pictures of her childhood, of her father, of the family that had loved her and given her everything. I understand your concerns, Mrs. Morrison, Dr. Chen said. Let's do a comprehensive assessment. I'll need to speak with your mother, tour the home, review her medications and bills. Then I'll write a report with my recommendations. Whatever you think is best, I just want her protected. Protected. The word made me want to scream. She didn't want me protected. She wanted me controlled. I counted to 10. steadied my breathing, put on my most confused expression. Then I walked into the living room like I'd just arrived home. "Oh, Brianna, I didn't know you were here already. And who's this?" Brianna's face shifted. Surprise. Then that practiced smile. "Mom, this is Dr. Patricia Chen. Remember? I told you she was coming today. For your home assessment." I blinked, played the role she expected. "Home assessment? I don't remember that." Dr. Chen and Brianna exchanged a look. The look that said, "See? I told you, she's declining." But I saw something else in that moment. I saw my daughter's relief. She was happy I seemed confused, happy to have a witness to my supposed incompetence, happy that her lies might be believed. That's when I knew. There would be no reconciliation, no fixing this. My daughter had chosen money over me, and I had to choose myself over her. "Well," I said softly, "I guess we should get started then," Chen said as I poured tea. "Thank you. I like to keep things clean. Harold, my late husband, he always said a clean house is a peaceful house." "When did Harold pass away?" "July 15th, 2019. 5 years ago this summer. Stroke. He was 68. "I'm sorry for your loss. That must have been very difficult." "It was. It is. But I manage." Dr. Chen glanced at Brianna. I caught the look. Confusion. This wasn't the declining, confused woman Brianna had described. "Based on what I've observed today, you show no signs of cognitive decline. Your home is well maintained. Your medications are properly managed. Your bills are organized and paid. Your memory is excellent. You're oriented to time and place. You're managing your daily activities independently and appropriately." She turned to Brianna. "Mrs. Morrison, I cannot in good conscience write a report recommending guardianship or conservatorship. Your mother is fully competent," Chen said as I poured tea. "Thank you. I like to keep things clean. Harold, my late husband, he always said a clean house is a peaceful house." "When did Harold pass away?" "July 15th, 2019. 5 years ago this summer. Stroke. He was 68. "I'm sorry for your loss. That must have been very difficult." "It was. It is. But I manage." Dr. Chen glanced at Brianna. I caught the look. Confusion. This wasn't the declining, confused woman Brianna had described. This was someone making tea, remembering dates, speaking clearly, keeping a clean home. "Mrs. Rhodes, do you mind if I ask you some questions?" "Just routine assessment things." "Of course." She pulled out a form, started with the basics. "Can you tell me today's date?" "Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. "And what time of day is it?" "About 2:15 inches the afternoon." "Who is the current president?" "Joe Biden." "Can you count backward from 100 by sevens?" "I did. 100, 93, 86, 79, 72, 65. Perfect." Dr. Chen's pen moved across her paper. Brianna shifted in her seat. I could feel her anxiety rising. This wasn't going the way she'd planned. "Can you tell me about your typical day, Mrs. Rhodes?" "I wake up around 6:30. Make breakfast. I read the Tribune with my coffee. Tuesdays and Thursdays I volunteer at my church, Trinity United. I help with the food pantry. Wednesdays I have lunch with my friend Gloria Williams. We've been friends for 32 years. Fridays I get my hair done at Rosie's on 87th Street. Saturdays I grocery shop and do my cleaning. Sundays I go to service and usually see my grandchildren. That's a very active schedule. I like to stay busy, keeps me young. And you manage all of this independently? Transportation, appointments, finances?" "Yes, ma'am. I drive myself. I keep a calendar. I pay my bills on the 1st of every month. I've been managing a household since 1971. I don't see why I'd stop now." Brianna interrupted. Mom, what about last month, when you forgot about your doctor's appointment? I turned to her, calm, clear. I didn't forget, baby. I canceled it because I had a conflict with church. I called the office 3 days ahead. They rescheduled me for next month. Oh. Brianna's face flushed. I thought you forgot. No. I just didn't tell you because it wasn't important. Dr. Chen made another note. Mrs. Rhodes, your daughter mentioned concerns about your memory. She said you sometimes ask the same questions multiple times. Did she? I looked at Brianna. Can you give me an example, honey? Brianna hesitated. Last week you asked me about Maya's basketball schedule twice. I asked you once on Monday. Then on Thursday, I asked if the schedule had changed because Maya mentioned a makeup game. Those were 2 different questions about the same topic. That's not forgetting. That's following up. The room got quiet. Dr. Chen looked between us. She was starting to see it. Starting to understand that the problem wasn't my memory. It was something else entirely. May I see your medications, Mrs. Rhodes? Of course. I led her to my kitchen, opened the cabinet, showed her my weekly pill organizer, blood pressure medication, vitamin D, calcium, all properly sorted, all taken as prescribed. And your bills? I opened my desk drawer, pulled out my filing system. January bills, paid and filed. February bills, paid and filed. March bills, paid and ready to file. Check register, balance to the penny. Dr. Chen studied everything. Mrs. Rhodes, I have to ask, why do you think your daughter is concerned about your well-being? And here it was. The moment of truth. I could keep pretending, keep playing along, or I could say what I knew. I looked Dr. Chen in the eye. I think my daughter is concerned about my assets, not my well-being. And I think she brought you here to create documentation of incompetence that doesn't exist so she can pursue guardianship of someone who doesn't need it. Dr. Chen's eyebrows rose. Brianna stood up fast. Mom, that's not true. I'm trying to help you. But I was documenting everything now. I bought a small recording device that looked like a pen, kept it in my pocket during their visits. Recorded their conversations about my supposed incompetence. About their plans for my house, about the assisted living facilities they'd researched, evidence, just in case. Gloria called me every few days. How you holding up, baby? I'm okay, stronger than I thought I'd be. Harold would be proud of you, standing up for yourself like this. Harold, are you, baby? Is that why you keep pressuring me to sign power of attorney? Why you walk through my house with Kent taking pictures and talking about selling it? Why you monitor my bank account and question every withdrawal? You're not helping me. You're positioning yourself to control me. That's ridiculous. Dr. Chen, you see what I mean? She's paranoid. She's making accusations that don't make sense. But Dr. Chen was looking at me differently now. Mrs. Brianna's face went pale. You went to a lawyer? Behind my back? I went to a lawyer because I felt I needed protection from my own daughter. The words hung in the air. Heavy, true, painful. Brianna's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were real or performed. If she actually felt hurt, or if she was just angry her plan was falling apart. Dr. Chen closed her notebook. Mrs. Rhodes, I need to be honest with you. She was starting to see it, starting to understand that the problem wasn't my memory. It was something else entirely. May I see your medications, Mrs. Rhodes? Of course. I led her to my kitchen, opened the cabinet, showed her my weekly pill organizer, blood pressure medication, vitamin D, calcium, all properly sorted, all taken as prescribed. And your bills? I opened my desk drawer, pulled out my filing system. January bills, paid and filed. February bills, paid and filed. Whatever concerns you have about her care, they're not supported by what I've seen today. Brianna's mouth opened, closed, but she forgets things. She's making bad financial decisions. Giving money to her church is not a bad financial decision. It's her money to spend as she chooses, and I haven't seen any evidence of memory problems. You're not understanding. She needs protection. From what? Dr. Chen's voice was gentle, but firm. From making her own choices? That's not protection, Mrs. Morrison. That's control. Dr. Chen gathered her papers, stood up. Mrs. Rhodes, thank you for your time. I'll send you a copy of my assessment for your records. If you ever do need assistance with care planning, please don't hesitate to call. But based on what I've seen today, you're doing just fine on your own. She shook my hand, nodded politely at Brianna, then left. I heard her car start, heard her drive away, and then it was just me and my daughter in the living room where I'd raised her, where Harold used to read her bedtime stories, where we'd celebrated her birthdays and her graduation and her wedding. Brianna turned to me, face twisted with anger and something else. Fear, maybe. What did you do? What did I do? I answered her questions honestly. You sabotaged this. You made me look like I'm trying to steal from you. Aren't you? The question sat between us, heavy, unavoidable. I'm trying to protect you. That's all I've ever been trying to do. Protect me from what, Brianna? From managing my own life? From spending my own money? From living in my own house? You're not thinking clearly. You're alone. You're vulnerable. Someone needs to make sure you're taken care of. I am taken care of. By me. I've been taking care of myself since before you were born. I took care of your father for 48 years. I raised you. I worked 38 years. I managed our household, our budget, everything. Why would I suddenly need your management now? Because you're older. Things change. I'm 66, not 96, and the only thing that's changed is that your father died and you started seeing me as an asset instead of your mother. Brianna's face flushed. That's not fair. Isn't it? When did the Tuesday dinners become interrogations about my spending? When did you start walking through my house with Kent like you're appraising it? When did you start bringing legal documents for me to sign without letting me review them first? Those documents are for your protection. No, baby. They're for your control. I walked to my desk, pulled out a folder, the folder Eleanor had prepared for me, documentation of everything Brianna didn't know I knew. Let me show you something, I said. I opened the folder, pulled out the first document. This is the quit-claim deed I filed last month. Your name has been removed from my house. I'm the sole owner again. Brianna's face went white. You can't do that. I already did. It's my house. I can remove anyone I want from the title. But I'm your daughter. You added me for estate planning. You said it was for estate planning. But then you started talking about selling my house while I'm still living in it. Started suggesting I move to assisted living so you could access the equity. That's not estate planning. That's displacement. I pulled out the next document. These are the statements from my new bank accounts. I closed the joint accounts at Southside Federal, moved every penny to Pullman Community Bank. Accounts in my name only. You no longer have access to my money. Brianna grabbed for the papers. I pulled them back. You stole from me. You moved my money without telling me. I moved my money without telling you. There's a difference. The money was always mine. You just had access. Now you don't. This is insane. I'm your only child. I should be on your accounts. I should be on your deed. What if something happens to you? If something happens to me, my will specifies exactly what happens to my assets, and I can promise you it's not what you're expecting. That stopped her. What do you mean? I mean I've updated my will. With Eleanor's help, my house goes to Trinity United Church. My savings go to a scholarship fund in your father's name. For students who want to go into public service like Harold did, CTA workers, teachers, people who dedicate their lives to serving the community. Brianna's mouth opened. No sound came out, just shock. Just the dawning realization that everything she'd been planning for was disappearing. You're leaving everything to strangers? To the church? Not to me? Not to your grandchildren? You and Kent make good money. Maya and Jordan will be fine. They don't need my house, but the church feeds 200 families every week. The scholarship will help kids who can't afford college. Kids whose parents work hard like Harold and I did. That's legacy. That's what your father would have wanted. Dad would have wanted you to take care of your family. I am taking care of my family. I'm teaching my daughter that you can't manipulate your way into an inheritance. That love doesn't come with access to bank accounts. That respecting your mother means accepting her decisions even when they don't benefit you. Brianna's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time, I thought. I can't believe you'd do this, after everything I've done for you. After Dad died, and I was there for you. You were there for me for 1 year. Then you started being there for my assets. There's a difference. I'm your daughter, and I'm your mother. Not your retirement plan. Not your investment property. Not your backup fund for Maya's college. I'm a person, with rights, with autonomy, with the ability to make my own decisions about my own life. Brianna wiped her eyes, but the sadness was already turning to anger. You'll regret this. You're going to end up alone. No family. No one to take care of you when you really do need help. If being alone is the price of keeping my dignity, I'll pay it. Your father and I worked too hard for what we have for me to let anyone take it, even you. Kent was right about you. He said you were selfish, said you didn't appreciate what we do for you. I defended you. I told him you were just grieving. But he was right. You only care about yourself. The mask was fully off now. No more concerned daughter. No more worried about Mom's well-being. Just anger that I wouldn't cooperate with my own exploitation. I think you should leave now, I said quietly. Gladly. But don't come crying to me when you fall and break your hip and there's no one there to help you. Don't call me when you're lonely and realize you pushed away the only family you have. Don't expect me to be there when you finally need me. I won't. I promise you that. Brianna grabbed her purse, headed for the door, stopped with her hand on the knob. I'll fight this. I'll contest the will. I'll get lawyers. You can try, but Eleanor's already prepared for that. Everything is legal. Everything is documented. And you have no grounds. I'm competent. Dr. Chen just confirmed it. You saw her report. I'm managing my life just fine without you. We'll see about that. She slammed the door. I watched through the window as she got in her car, peeled out of my driveway, drove away from the house where she grew up, maybe for the last time. Fridays, I get my hair done at Rosie's on 87th Street. Saturdays, I grocery shop and do my cleaning. Sundays, I go to service and usually see my grandchildren. That's a very active schedule. I like to stay busy, keeps me young. And you manage all of this independently? Transportation, appointments, finances? Yes, ma'am. I drive myself. I keep a calendar. I pay my bills on the first of every month. I've been managing a household since 1971. I don't see why I'd stop now. What do you mean? I mean I've updated my will. With Eleanor's help, my house goes to Trinity United Church. My savings go to a scholarship fund in your father's name. For students who want to go into public service like Harold did, CTA workers, teachers, people who dedicate their lives to serving the community. Brianna's mouth opened. No sound came out, just shock, just the dawning realization that everything she'd been planning for was disappearing. Fridays, I get my hair done at Rosie's on 87th Street. Saturdays, I grocery shop and do my cleaning. Sundays, I go to service and usually see my grandchildren. That's a very active schedule. I like to stay busy, keeps me young. And you manage all of this independently? Transportation, appointments, finances? Yes, ma'am. I drive myself. I keep a calendar. I pay my bills on the first of every month. I've been managing a household since 1971. I don't see why I'd stop now. What if she claims undue influence? Says the church manipulated me? Then we show the timeline. You've been a member of Trinity United for 40 years. You've been giving to the church your entire adult life. This isn't new behavior influenced by grief or decline. This is consistent with your values. No court will overturn that. I felt some of the tension leave my shoulders. Thank you, Eleanor, for everything. You did the hard part, Mrs. Rhodes. You stood up for yourself. I sat down on the couch, the same couch where she'd just sat with Dr. Chen planning to take my freedom, and I cried. Not for the daughter who'd just left, but for the daughter I'd lost years ago. The sweet girl who used to bring me flowers, who used to call me her best friend, who used to love me for something besides what I owned. That girl was gone, and in her place was a woman I didn't recognize, a woman who'd chosen money over her mother, and I had to let her go. I sat down on the couch, the same couch where she'd just sat with Dr. Chen planning to take my freedom, and I cried. Not for the daughter who'd just left, but for the daughter I'd lost years ago. The sweet girl who used to bring me flowers, who used to call me her best friend, who used to love me for something besides what I owned. That girl was gone, and in her place was a woman I didn't recognize, a woman who'd chosen money over her mother, and I had to let her go. The next morning, my phone started ringing at 7 a.m. Kent. I didn't answer. He called 4 more times, left voicemails, angry ones, accusing me of manipulating Brianna, of being ungrateful, of ruining their financial plans that apparently included my house and my savings. Then came the text messages from Brianna. We need to talk. You're making a huge mistake. Think about Maya and Jordan. Think about their future. I blocked the number. I was done being guilted, done being manipulated. And you didn't raise your daughter to be someone you had to surrender to. She chose this, not you. I miss them, Maya and Jordan. They didn't do anything wrong. No, they didn't. But their mother is using them as weapons. That's on her, not you. My church family rallied around me. Pastor Williams and his wife brought me dinner twice a week. The ladies' auxiliary invited me to every event. The youth group kids I'd fed for decades, when I volunteered in the church kitchen, made me cards. Thank you for always making sure we had enough to eat. You're our favorite lunch lady. We love you, Mrs. Rhodes. I had community. I had purpose. I had people who valued me for who I was, not what I owned. But I still missed my daughter, missed the relationship we used to have. Mourned the loss, even though I knew it was necessary. In May, 2 months after the confrontation, I got a letter, legal letterhead. Brianna had hired an attorney. They were demanding I restore her access to my accounts, claiming I was incompetent when I removed her, threatening to pursue emergency guardianship. I called Eleanor immediately. They're actually doing this. Good. Let them. We have Dr. Chen's report. We have documentation of your competence. We have evidence of their pressure tactics. They'll lose, and it will cost them legal fees they can't afford. She was right. The motion for emergency guardianship was denied within a week. The judge reviewed Dr. Chen's assessment, reviewed my medical records, reviewed my bank statements showing careful, appropriate management, dismissed the case, ordered Brianna to pay court costs. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt sad. My daughter had chosen money over me so completely that she'd take me to court, try to have me declared incompetent, strip me of my rights, all to access assets that weren't hers. Kent and Brianna's marriage started showing cracks. I heard through the church gossip network, arguments in public, financial stress. Kent had apparently expected my money to fund their lifestyle upgrades. The bigger house, The private schools for Maya and Jordan, the country club membership. When that money didn't materialize, when my inheritance was redirected to charity, their house of cards started collapsing. I felt no satisfaction in their struggles, just sadness that greed had brought them here. That my daughter had married a man who valued assets over character. That my grandchildren were watching their parents fight over money that was never theirs to begin with. By summer 2023, the calls and letters stopped. Brianna had apparently accepted that she couldn't force her way into my finances, couldn't manipulate her way into my house, couldn't steal what Harold and I had built. But acceptance didn't mean reconciliation. It just meant the war was over. We both lost. March 2024. 1 year after Dr. Chen sat in my living room and confirmed what I already knew, that I was competent, that I was capable, that the only thing wrong with me was having a daughter who valued my assets more than my autonomy. I'm still in my house, the house Harold and I bought in 1978, the house we raised Brianna in, the house I'll live in until I can't anymore. Then it goes to Trinity United Church, and I'm at peace with that. My days are full. Tuesdays and Thursdays at the food pantry, Wednesdays lunch with Gloria and the church ladies, Fridays at Rosie's getting my hair done and catching up on neighborhood news, Sundays at service, sitting in the same pew where Harold and I sat for 40 years. I see Maya and Jordan occasionally now, supervised visits arranged through my sister Diane. Brianna drops them off, doesn't come inside, picks them up 2 hours later. We don't speak, just a nod. An acknowledgement that we both exist but no longer know each other. The kids ask questions sometimes. Why don't you come to our house anymore, Grandma? Why doesn't Mommy come inside? Did we do something wrong? I tell them they did nothing wrong. That sometimes adults disagree about important things. That I love them but their mother and I need space from each other. I don't tell them their mother tried to steal my house. That their father calculated my net worth like I was an investment. That they were used as emotional leverage to pressure me into giving up my independence. They'll understand when they're older. Or maybe they won't. Maybe Brianna's version of events is the one they'll believe. That I'm the selfish grandmother who chose the church over her own family. That I abandoned them. That I'm the villain in this story. I can live with that. Because I know the truth. And so does Harold's memory. I talk to him still, sitting in his chair, looking at his picture. I protected what we built, baby. I didn't let anyone take it, not even our daughter. I hope that's what you would have wanted. The roses by the front steps bloomed again this spring. Pink ones. The ones Harold planted 46 years ago. I water them every evening. Talk to them like Karina used to talk to hers. Tell them about my day. About the kids at church. About Gloria's latest gossip. About missing Harold. About the daughter I lost to greed. Last week, Brianna sent a text. First one in months. Mom, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Can we talk? I stared at that message for an hour, wanting to believe it, wanting my daughter back, wanting the relationship we had before Harold died, and everything changed. But I couldn't. Couldn't risk opening that door again. Couldn't trust that the apology was real and not just another strategy to access my assets. I texted back, I forgive you, but I can't have a relationship with you right now. Maybe someday, but not now. She didn't respond, and I cried for an hour. Because forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. Love doesn't require trust. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is keep distance from people who hurt you, even when those people are your own children. Eleanor tells me I did everything right, protected myself legally, documented everything, made decisions while I had full capacity, set up my estate to reflect my values. Harold's Scholarship Fund is already helping 3 students at the community college, kids whose parents drive buses and serve food and clean buildings. Kids like Brianna could have been if she'd valued character over money. The church is thriving. The food pantry fed 847 families last month. My donations help. My volunteer hours help. My presence helps. I'm building legacy that matters. Legacy that helps people. That honors Harold's memory. That reflects what we believed about community and service and taking care of others. Some people would say I'm bitter, that I cut off my daughter over money, that I should forgive and forget and restore the relationship. But those people don't understand. This was never about money. It was about dignity, about autonomy, about refusing to become a victim in my own life. I'm 66 years old. I worked 38 years feeding children. Harold worked 42 years driving people safely through Chicago. We saved every penny. We sacrificed everything for our daughter's future. And when he died, she saw opportunity instead of grief, saw assets instead of her mother, saw inheritance instead of relationship. I won't apologize for protecting what we built, for standing up for myself, for choosing dignity over false peace. Harold would be proud of that. And that matters more than Brianna's approval ever could. Tonight I'll sit in his chair, water his roses, thank him for 48 years of love and partnership and teaching me to stand strong, and I'll know that even alone, even without my daughter, even missing my grandchildren, I made the right choice. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the consequences of their choices. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the refusal to be victimized by people you love. That's my story. That's my truth. And I'm at peace with it. That is Cynthia Rhodes's story. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? What city? What country? Drop it in the comments below. I love seeing our global community come together over these stories about family betrayal, financial exploitation, and the moment when you have to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your dignity. Real question: if you were Cynthia, what would you have done? Would you have added your daughter to your deed and bank accounts? Would you have signed the power of attorney to keep the peace? Or would you have protected yourself the way Cynthia did? Tell me in the comments. Hit that like button if this story made you feel something. Share it if you know someone dealing with financial pressure from family. Someone whose adult children see them as an ATM instead of a parent. Someone struggling with the choice between family harmony and self-protection. And subscribe for more raw, real stories about elder financial abuse, adult children who exploit aging parents, the cost of trusting family with your assets, and what happens when you have to lawyer up against your own daughter. Thanks for watching. Sometimes the people you sacrifice everything for are the ones who'll try to take what's left. Sometimes being a good parent means teaching your child they can't manipulate you. Sometimes love means setting boundaries that hurt. And sometimes the only way to protect your legacy is to give it to people who'll honor it instead of entitled family who think they deserve it. See you in the next video.